It was a dangerous one. That's the stairway I used to come down as well. It was very steep, and especially in big matches, there was a lot of crushing on the stairway, and sometimes you could actually lift your feet and be carried forward a few yards. Sometimes you did it actually just to see whether you could. But it was an accident waiting to happen. There had been another one in '69, but yeah, it was for people who come down that stairway. There was always a bit of surprise that something hadn't happened prior to that, but it didn't stop you from going down because you felt, everybody's got this sense of immortality and feel that you can look after yourself. But clearly, when events take over, you don't.
It's probably the first disaster I can remember. I wasn't even 10 years old when it happened, and I remember it was all over the TV. And at that time, I always remember Scottish television. You used to get like a 5-minute news, but for the first time ever, I think they stayed on air to bring people updates on the disaster. It was caused by a late equaliser, wasn't it? Partly, anyway.
No, it wasn't actually, Alec. That was one of the misconceptions at the time. It actually happened about 5 minutes afterwards. There was a suggestion that it took place because Rangers equalised in the dying minutes, but it was since shown that it did take place sometime afterwards. There's been various ideas in terms of what actually precipitated it. People saying that it was a chap in somebody's shoulders and he fell, but it's not clear whether he fell because somebody tripped. But it was one of these situations where if you went down for whatever reason, let's say you dropped your coat or dropped your scarf or went down, then the pressure behind would just precipitate an avalanche of bodies, and that's effectively what happened. But no, it was not associated with the equaliser at all.
Yeah, well, I've learned something today because, as you say, a popular misconception. I think it was Jimmy Johnson that got the Celtic goal and Colin Steen equalised.
Colin did, and for a few years, the memories live with Colin, and he felt some regrets concerning that. But no, it was unrelated to that at all.
Yeah, incredible. So, I guess the next couple of months after the disaster, I know for a fact that Rangers personnel were attending funerals all over Scotland.
They were, and I think you've got to remember that a lot of the young boys that were with the team at that time, people like Derek Palin, a good friend of mine, was only, I think Derek was about 18 at the time, so a lot of the young boys who were with the club at that time had to attend sometimes like 3, 4, 5 funerals in a day. And, naturally, the relatives were not all welcoming to Rangers people because many of them blamed the club in some way. So I remember even speaking to Alan McDonald, and he had the door shut on him on one occasion as well. So, but these were players who were asked to basically do a duty and attend on behalf of the club, so which they did. But harrowing for them. Lots of stories, lots of emotional stories.
And different times, no talk of mental health and the impact it might have had on players and indeed families.
No, I think that's quite an important one, and I think it's lived with a lot of people. John Gregg in particular, I've seen John being quite emotional about it. I think you've got to remember as well that for younger people it's hard for them to recognise what time is like then. We've got mobile phones, for example, and up-to-date news and whatever, but at that time you didn't. So a lot of people on the day didn't really know without having to drive to Ibrox to find out, where the relatives were. So it was very harrowing for lots of people, not just the players, of course, but the relatives particularly.
Yeah, we're talking 1971. Life was fairly modern, but as you say, communication not on the level that it's on today. And I guess maybe the first aid situation wasn't the same as it is today. I heard stories of people being laid down on advertising hoardings.
Yeah, well, I don't think there's any football ground would be able to cope with that number of casualties. You're dealing with 66 who died, and of course the number who were injured as well. And I think even today, people would, clubs would struggle to contend with that. But it was just the severity of the disaster that really caught everybody by surprise and shock, effectively. But it's just a hard one. Yeah. Hard one to deal with any time, really.
And that forced Rangers to have a look at Ibrox Stadium again, and I believe they went to, was it Borussia Dortmund? They looked in Germany for a new model for the stadium.
They did, actually. I went to the stadium as well. It was the Waldstadion in Dortmund, which had been constructed in preparation for the '74 World Cup, and it was an ideal model four stands at the time, all seated, of course, and Rangers went on a campaign led by manager Willie Waddle to ensure that fans would be able to come to the ground in safety, and that's effectively what they modelled it on that, to make sure that it was all seated and people could leave and come to a game, in safety. So that was the original design. The stadium's obviously changed a bit since then, and of course you've had other disasters, Hillsborough and Heysel, for example, Bradford. So these things sadly have continued to evolve. When you get lots of people thrown in the one area for a short period of time and then leave in a short period of time, then there was always a potential for something to happen. So that precipitated all sorts of changes to the legislation and to the design of football grounds.